How's it going, guys? Welcome back to Blake Check. If you're new to the channel, my name is Blake. It's nice to meet you. If you're interested in my perspective as an early EV adopter, be sure to subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell so you don't miss anything. As you may recall, a couple of weeks ago, we traded in my wife's 2018 Tesla Model 3 Long Range rear-wheel drive for the ID.4, and as promised, today we're going to be doing a full in-depth review of the ID.4, going over the exterior, the interior, and some of the performance specs. So let's get started. The VW ID.4 comes in a variety of trims ranging in price, battery capacity, and available features. The ID.4 Pro S rear-wheel drive that you see in front of you falls in about the middle of the spectrum, starting at $48,995. With the Pro S trim, you get an upgraded LED headlight, full LED front and rear light bars, and illuminated front and rear logos. The LED headlights are automatic and adaptive, meaning that they can move with the steering wheel as you turn corners. The Pro S trim comes on these attractive 20-inch alloy wheels and is outfitted with Kumho-Krugen HP71 EV all-season tires. The Pro S trim also comes with these illuminated door handles that make opening and closing the door in the dark much easier. We've also got black roof rails and matching black accents that contrast really well with this pure gray paint option. I'm a big fan of this color, but I was super frustrated when we were shopping for this car because I couldn't find a decent picture of this color option in good lighting, so here's a couple stills for you just in case you're looking for the same thing. Overall, I'd say I'm pretty impressed with the styling on the ID.4. It's stylish yet subtle. It doesn't necessarily scream EV to me, which I think is going to appeal to a lot of buyers. Moving to the interior, as you can see, we've got a pretty spacious cabin here in the ID.4 with a very comfortable ride height for easy entry and exit. The Pro S trim comes with these heated 12-way power adjustable VTEX leatherette seats. I don't know what VTEX means, but I do know that these seats are super comfortable. Speaking of comfort, these seats also have a massaging function on both the driver and passenger side. The Pro S trim also comes with a heated steering wheel, which is great for colder climates. Moving along the dash, you'll see we have a good-sized 12-inch center display along with a digital instrument display ahead of the steering wheel. For previous model years, there were two center screen options, one 10-inch and one 12-inch. Now this 12-inch screen is standard across all trims, which I think is a good move by Volkswagen. While we're on the subject of the center screen, let's talk about how to navigate it. A lot of reviews I've seen on the previous model year ID.4 point at the center screen as being buggy and laggy. After having used it for a couple of weeks, I can say that's not my personal experience. As you can see here, the screen is pretty responsive to touch and navigation is intuitive. While we're at it, I'll show you a couple more things. As you can see here, we get this fully customizable LED color light bar that runs across the entire dash and extends to the door handles. You can either set one color or change it to auto, which will make the color change depending on which drive mode you're in. Moving right along, the native UI is pretty lackluster, but the ID.4 is also equipped with wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. We end up using that almost exclusively as opposed to VW's navigation and apps. But it's important to note that when you're using Google Maps or Apple Maps, you won't have automatic route planning with charge stops. So for long road trips, you're going to want to change to the native navigation. Down here you have a couple USB-C chargers and a QI wireless phone charger that clips your phone into place. Behind that you have a pretty deep center console for storage. In the Pro S trim you get this massive glass roof with an automatic retractable sunshade that's super convenient. To operate it, you just slide your finger across this groove here in the middle in whichever direction you want the shade to go. Alright, let's move around to the back, but before we do I want to comment on the build quality of this thing. It's super solid, feels very well put together. Perfect example is the sound of the doors opening and closing. Very solid thunk when you close the door, which is something you're supposed to care about as an automotive YouTuber, I guess. Moving around to the back, I've got the front seat positioned where it'd be if I was sitting in it, and as you can see, plenty of rear legroom, got a few inches of space between my knees and the seat in front of me, and a decent amount of headroom. Other than that, there's not much that special about the back seat. Decently comfortable, you get a couple more USB-C outlets, a little cubby for small items, and two pockets on the back of each seat for storage. Also, if you're considering the ID.4 for a family like we are, I'll point out that the car seat anchors are hidden behind these plastic covers, making them easy to access. Moving around to the rear cargo area, the Pro S has an automatic tailgate that reveals a decent amount of storage space, and the load floor is easy to adjust to increase the usable volume of the cargo area. This carpeted cargo cover also reduces road noise and protects your items in the rear cargo area, and it's easy to pop out in order to increase your cargo height. There's also a little more storage under the adjustable load floor, but not much, which is surprising and a weak point of the ID.4 in my opinion, since the ID.4 doesn't have a front trunk. Last but not least, you get a couple of decent sized side cubbies in the ID.4 cargo area, as well as this 12-volt outlet. Alright, let's go for a little drive in the Volkswagen ID.4 Pro S. So right off the bat, the first thing I want to say is that I've been driving this car around for about a couple weeks now, and the first thing that sticks out to me is that the driving experience is not unlike driving your traditional everyday SUV, like a gas-driven SUV. So for some, that's going to be a bonus. That's going to appeal to some people who are just now making that transition to an electric vehicle. This is not going to be different than that for the most part. It's just an SUV that happens to be driven by electricity rather than gas. So the opposite side of that is that there's not a whole lot that's special about the driving experience in this car that I found so far. It has most of, if not all of, the safety features and driving assist features that most have come to expect out of a brand new 2023 SUV, whether it's gas driven or electric driven. So that's great. It has adaptive cruise, it has lane keep, emergency braking, it has blind spot detectors. It doesn't have like a video image of what's in your blind spot. It just has the traditional light indicators if there's somebody in your blind spot. It also has a very tight turn radius. So actually that is a good place for us to start right now. Let me show you what that looks like. You guys will see some images from both inside and outside of the car. Make sure that nobody's coming. And as you can see, super tight. As I mentioned in our delivery day video, that might be something that appeals to people who, you know, live in the city or just live in a place where a tight turn radius is going to be advantageous for them and help them get out of sticky situations. We don't have that type of concern, but it's nice to know that we do have it in case we find ourselves in that type of situation. So I think I've done enough talking. I told you we're going to drive this car, so let's get moving. The ID.4 actually has two drive modes. The first is going to be like your traditional driving mode where when you let off of the accelerator, the car just cruises to a stop. There's no regen braking automatically applied in the regular drive mode. In order to engage regen braking, what you need to do is tap the gear lever forward again. And that is kind of an area that bugs me a little bit. As an early adopter of electric vehicles, I've been driving them and I am very much used to regen braking. And I think for most people, once you get used to it, it's something you leave on all the time. But in the ID.4, every time you get into the car, you have to make a conscious decision to turn on regen braking. I wish there was a setting in the infotainment that lets you just turn it on all the time rather than have this gear lever selector thing. Let's see if we can make this super tight turn again without scratching the wheel. Oh my gosh, that was super tight. I wasn't even expecting to make that turn, but we did. But now that we're moving, another thing to comment on is just the comfort level of the cabin. The seats, like I was showing you guys before, are super comfortable. They're this leatherette material that we really like. They're heated, they're not ventilated or cooled, but that's nice to have when it gets cold out, to have those heated seats, especially combined with the massage function that I showed you guys before. As far as road noise, because electric vehicles don't have that humming that an internal combustion engine car has, you're going to hear a lot more of the outside of the car when you're driving along. But fortunately, this ID.4 has a very well insulated cabin. As I'm driving on this not so smooth road, you're not hearing a ton of the road noise, and that's a testament to the suspension setup as well as the tires that this car comes on. I showed you guys that it comes on Kumo Krugen. Let me know in the comments if I mispronounced that, but they are an all-season tire that I think is made specifically for EVs to reduce roll resistance and stuff like that. So you get a nice smooth ride, a quiet ride, comfortable and perfect for most families. That's why we selected this car. So we are moving over to a better paved road that's a little smoother. It'll be quieter in here, but I want to let you guys see some of the adaptive cruise or driver assist features that this car comes with. So it has what I would call basically an equivalent to autopilot, and I'll show you guys that in just a second. Let me flip the camera around. All right, to engage Volkswagen steering assist, you need to first turn on cruise control by pressing this button here. That sets the speed. You can also adjust the distance from the car in front of you. And the next step is to press this button down here. And when it's on, you'll see that that travel assist is on and that the steering wheel starts to move on its own. And I would say that it's not quite up to par with Tesla's basic autopilot. As you guys can see there, the car started to move over into the oncoming lane, which I don't like. But the difference with Volkswagen's travel assist is that you can adjust your position in the lane without disengaging, which I think is really cool. So to increase your speed, you just tap this plus sign here. You can also slide it up in order to increase your speed by 5 miles per hour at a time, or slide it down in order to decrease that speed quickly as well. And then to disengage, you just tap this button here, and you'll see that the main switch is deactivated, meaning that I am in control of the steering wheel again. So that's a basic overview of this driver assist feature in this Volkswagen ID.4. I'll make a future video where we go in depth on what Volkswagen has to offer in their suite of driver assist features, as well as the park assist features, which are pretty cool. So overall, I like Volkswagen's travel assist. It's going to be great for long distance traveling on the freeway. And if you guys remember, my wife's Model 3 Long Range rear-wheel drive was a 2018 model that actually didn't have autopilot, so that's an upgrade for her. The next thing I want to do for you guys is show you the acceleration in the ID.4. As a reminder, this is the ID.4 Pro S rear-wheel drive, so it only has one motor in the back, and it has about 200 horsepower, and I'm not really sure what the 0 to 60 figure is on this car. I know that it'll get there, but it's definitely not as quick as my Model 3 Performance that you guys have seen on the channel before. But without further ado, let's go ahead and slam the accelerator. It still has that electric torque that just kind of kicks your head back, even with the single motor in the back. So that's quick enough for most. It's going to be quicker than most gas-driven SUVs in this segment, but it, again, isn't up to par with even my wife's Model 3 Long Range that she used to have. I think that had a 0 to 60 of like 5.8 seconds. I would say this feels more like in the high 7 range, but in a future video, I'll actually get a draggy and tell you guys exactly what the 0 to 60 figure is on this car. But that's going to do it for the performance segment of this video. There are going to be plenty of future videos on this car. We've just gotten started with the ID.4. I'm still learning new things about it every single day. So be sure again to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so you can stay up to date on this car if it's something that you're considering, or if you're just curious. Leave me a comment in the comment section below. What do you guys think of the ID.4? Especially if you are a Tesla owner like I am, what are your impressions? That's all for now. Thanks for watching. This has been Blake Check, and that's a wrap.